In the fall of 2019, No Research worked with Leeza's Care Connection to interview members of its community. Participants were asked questions about their experience caregiving, the HUGS program, and Leeza's Care Connection. This is what we learned. Caregiving can be an isolating, lonely experience.
There was times that I felt very, very isolated. And then I also lost my own personality because all I could talk about was my parents' illness or doctor's appointments. And soon people were drawing or pulling away from me because they didn't want to hear about, what I was going through.
I went in her office and I said, you know what? I just realized I'm a caregiver. Here I am volunteering to help all these caregivers, and it took me like probably more than a year of doing some of this stuff for it to all of a sudden hit me that part of the reason that I was feeling the way I was that I was worn out, I was frustrated, I was tired, and sad, and, all those things.
It's not something that everyone always wants to think about. You don't want to think about your loved one and anyone you love in a difficult situation, but a lot of times it is a reality.
I think it's extremely important. It's something you don't know anything about until you're involved in it. And now that we're kind of up ahead of the curve. We're ahead of it as opposed to being behind. And most people are behind it because they don't know. And as we try to spread the word, we're trying to get the word out that, hey, you're going to need us.
Asking for help as a caregiver can be difficult because caregivers may not know what to ask for or where to turn.
Like I said, I've always been kind of strong and kind of self-sufficient, but I think it would have been nice to have had a place to go and think, well, what do I do with this form? What should I do with this? Just to have somebody to talk to, not that you would do anything differently sometimes, but just to have someone else to say, okay, we've gone through this same thing.
I wish I had known about support. Okay. I was not the kind of person who reached out as much, and I think that's once someone really knows there are a lot of people out there for help, then they do it.
HUGS is a unique program that puts the caregiver first. HUGS ambassadors have first-hand experience with caregiving and provide listening, connection, and emotional support for caregivers.
They have cared for their loved ones before, and they can offer advice and sympathy to and laughter, that there is hope, and here is a place you can come and just sit and just relax, and you don't have to worry about your loved one for an hour or so.
Take your oxygen first. You got to take care of yourself because 60% of the caregivers die before their mate does, and that is a tremendous loss of support for somebody that's taking care of someone with Alzheimer's.
It's just like I said, emotional support. So many people come here that it's just in the camaraderie. It's reaching people. We really need to reach more people. I've seen people come through here, and I've seen the change in them, and I've seen them be able to walk through painful times and still come back in here and smile and thank us, and then come and get involved in, other activities, and even come back and volunteer.
I get a lot out of being in the support group that I co-lead. I mentioned we're called Coffee and Canvas, so it's a creative art group, and we have people that come that have no art background whatsoever. They just want to come to a group that is not preaching at them or teaching them how to do this and how to do that. They just want to come. So we have one rule in our classroom, and that is what is said in the classroom stays in the classroom. You're free to say whatever you want to say. And some people come and they just want to tell their story and have somebody listen and hug them and cry with them and tell them that we're all survivors of one thing or another, or we're trying to be. And you don't have to paint and be in the group. You can just come in here and feel the companionship of other people who know or can identify with what walk you're on, and we're here and we care.
It's a very good thing to let people, give them permission to cry. After probably about the second session, people will stay there and admit their emotions and not hide them. There's a real release with tears, knowing that you've got somebody there to grab your hand or to stay after the class is over. People bond that way. There's always somebody that's going to be there to help. And of course, we are a huggable group, and sometimes that's all a person needs is a hug and say we care.